Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mid Morning. It looks like the anticipated trade war between the world's two largest economies is on. After President Donald Trump announcing tariffs on goods from China, the Chinese government is now putting out its own list of taxes on trade goods. Christy Lu Stout takes a look from Hong Kong.
China's response to Trump's tariffs could be the opening salvo of a new tit-for-tat trade war, and they go into effect today. These are broad measures that appear to vary in terms of potential impact, and here is the breakdown. They include a 15% tax on certain U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, 10% tax for crude oil, farm equipment, trucks, and big engine cars. These tariffs take effect today and join other countermeasures from China, including controls on metal exports and an anti-monopoly investigation into Google. Look, China is striking back after U.S. President Donald Trump imposed 10% tariffs on Chinese goods, all in a bid to hold China accountable for the fentanyl trade. The U.S. says that China is a source for fentanyl precursor chemicals. China has called fentanyl America's problem and has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization. So what impact will China's tariffs have? Analysts say that the tariffs are modest, especially compared to U.S. measures, and that they're designed to send a message. But new analysis from the Brookings Institution says that China's retaliatory tariffs will hurt American communities that voted for Trump. According to the report, it says this, quote, similar to the 2018 tariffs, the industrial heartland is again bearing a disproportionate impact from Chinese retaliation. Some of the most intensely affected counties are energy and manufacturing communities in North Dakota, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Alabama, and West Virginia, unquote. The study says between 400,000 to 700,000 American jobs could be affected by China's retaliatory tariffs. Christy Lu Stout, CNN. Hong Kong.
President Trump says he has directed the Treasury Department to stop minting new pennies, citing the rising cost of producing the 1-cent coin. For far too long, the United States has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful, Mr. Trump wrote in a post this past Sunday night on his Truth Social site. I've instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Trump had not discussed his desire to eliminate the penny during his campaign, but Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency raised the prospect in a post on X last month, highlighting the penny's cost. The U.S. Mint reported losing $85.3 million in the 2024 fiscal year that ended in September on the nearly 3.2 billion pennies it produced. Every penny cost nearly 3.7 cents. That's up from the 3.1 cents the year before. The Mint also loses money on the nickel, which with each of the coins costing nearly 14 cents to make. It's unclear whether Mr. Trump has the power to unilaterally eliminate the lowly 1-cent coin. Current specifications, including the size and metal content of coins, are dictated by Congress. Well, the U.S. government's headquarters for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is closing down this week. Bureau employees were abruptly informed Sunday afternoon the watchdog agency's Washington, D.C. headquarters will not be open for the week. Workers and contractors were instructed to work remotely. No reason for the stated closure, but Monday morning employees were told via email not to perform any work-related tasks. The Bureau has not commented on the changes. Meanwhile, a retirement plan milestone. The Wall Street Journal reporting for the first time half of private sector workers are participating in 401k plans. It was 43% a decade ago. The news comes nearly 50 years after Congress passed a law paving the way for 401ks. In recent years, access to the savings plans has increased as more states require companies to offer the option. Companies are also automatically enrolling more people. Despite the milestone, the Journal reports 40% of the working population isn't saving enough to maintain their lifestyle through retirement. Preliminary work, that is getting underway in the rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore Harbor. You may remember a section of the bridge collapsed last March when it was hit by a container ship. Casey Baylor has an update on the efforts.
Pile driving, driving steel piles, you will hear some of the vibration.
It's the noise nearby residents could hear as the Maryland Transportation Authority works near Fort Armistead. Out on the water and on land by the Francis Scott Key Bridge are crews collecting critical information for the Key Bridge rebuild project.
The soil is going to have information about the capacity to hold weight, to withstand certain forces.
Maryland Transportation Authority Chief Engineer Jim Harkness says they're specifically gathering samples where new bridge piers could be installed. Harkness says there's an extra level of consideration when it comes to designing the new bridge in the same alignment as the old one.
You can see the spacing of the existing piers. Obviously, they have foundations underground. We have to avoid those.
All this data then goes to the design team, explaining what's needed to hold up the bridge. The work comes as Governor Wes Moore unveiled the new Key Bridge design Tuesday. The new structure allows the federal shipping channel to expand from 700 to 1,000 feet, and it raises the bridge by 45 feet to increase ship accessibility.
It's a good bridge for the span distance that we're crossing here, and it's also economical.
Well, police in Seattle, they're trying to crack the case of a cafe theft where thieves made off with hundreds of valuable eggs. That's right, eggs. As Karina Vargas reports, the brazen heist was caught on security video.
Luna Park Cafe relies on eggs to keep their business running.
Since we're serving mostly egg here in the Luna Park Cafe, we have to struggle ourselves to get more, egg.
This loss doesn't make things easier. This is surveillance video of the thieves entering a refrigerated shed at the restaurant and loading up the truck. Police say 2 men got away with 540 eggs, as well as bacon, ground beef, blueberries, and liquid egg products, all totaling around $780.
And we saw the guy with the van, and then we tried to block them. And then they just almost crashed us, and then they just ran away.
This comes as egg prices continue to skyrocket with the ongoing bird flu outbreak. David Park, the general manager, says this has put a strain on their business.
We couldn't order any eggs, so we had to drive around all the markets to get the egg. But if you go to Costco or some grocery store, it's hard to get them, so it was very difficult.
Park believes they were targeted because of egg prices, since he says the thieves didn't bother to take any other expensive items.
But they didn't touch anything. They just stole the egg, liquid egg, and some meat. The champagne costs more, but they stole the egg.
Police are still trying to crack this case. They say no one has been arrested. They are asking if anyone has information to contact them right away. In West Seattle, Karina Vargas, KOMO News.
A unique heist indeed. Well, it's a silent disease that can lead to crippling injuries. When we come back, we look at new guidelines for screening. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's the most common bone disease in the U.S. Osteoporosis is a weakening of bone's structure, tissue, and strength, and can lead to increased risk of fractures. It's a treatable condition, but only if it's detected through screening. And there are new guidelines on who should be tested.
It's called a silent disease because there are no symptoms of early stage osteoporosis. It's usually found after a fracture or during screening.
It's just a matter of age and time and non-use of your bones. That it slowly develops.
Dr. Paul Lewis with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center says osteoporosis screening isn't invasive but critical as it can detect the condition before bones are broken. New guidelines recommend all women over age 65 have a bone mineral density test. Women of any age at increased risk for the disease are also advised to be screened.
It's almost as simple as getting x-rays taken. You lay on the table, They focus on the hip or the spine or your wrist, and a score is computed from that.
That score helps determine bone density. If it's low, Lewis says there are several medications that can stop bone loss or help build bone back. Consistently doing weight-bearing exercises or aerobics can also help prevent the disease. He says the new recommendations are due to an increase in injuries and even deaths linked to these types of fractures in the last 7 years.
The jury's still out on men getting screened, but typically men with risk factors of osteoporosis should be screened as well. That decision, though, comes between the patient and their physician.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Lewis says early detection of osteoporosis is also important so that a patient knows to get help quickly if there is a fracture. He says the sooner that broken bone is treated, the better the outcome. But he says many times people wait to be treated and only half gain back their pre-fracture activity levels following a major break. Whether it's cheddar, Swiss, American, or brie, cheese shares one major element: milk from an animal. But that could be changing as more companies look to shred the rule book in the lab. Tina Kraus has more.
People have been churning out cheese for thousands of years with one key ingredient: milk from an animal, often a cow. But scientists inside this London laboratory are trying to reinvent the wheel by ditching the dairy.
This is the lab that looks at making cheese melt, stretch, and ooze like traditional dairy.
Yvonne Nagaraja is the CEO of Better Dairy and says his company is duplicating centuries-old cheese recipes with 21st century technology.
The only difference in our case is that there is no cow involved and it's sustainable.
Chief Scientific Officer David Nunn explains the secret behind their lab-grown cheese.
What we're doing is producing an essential cheese protein called casein using precision fermentation.
That protein is crafted into curds and mixed with a variety of natural flavors to create a range of cheese types.
That is undifferentiated from the cheese that you enjoy every day with a nice slice of bread.
Better Dairy is not alone. Several other startups are looking to revolutionize the cheese aisle. And more than a dozen companies are making meat in the lab by cultivating animal cells and then growing them. 2 U.S. companies have received federal approval, but there's been pushback, with Florida and Alabama banning the sale of lab-grown meat. Better Dairy is aiming to get governments to approve their process in the next 3 years.
Our benchmark of success is traditional cheese. We want products that taste like the original that comes from a cow.
Engineers are working to expand production to eventually sell aged cheese that tastes like a chip off the old block. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
Environmental advocates say cultivated meat and cheese could be eco-friendly because the process uses less water and land and produces less waste. We'll be right back with a story from South Mississippi. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, everyone. Sunday night, many of us watched some of the biggest names in the NFL slug it out in the Super Bowl, including several people from our viewing area. But do you have to be jumbo-sized to play football? David Begnaud introduces us to a Mississippi player who shows what you really need to play the game is a big heart.
This was the photo that grabbed our attention. 2 Mississippi high school football players, one hoisting the other, seemingly pretty easily, over his head. So what was the backstory to this?
I'm Cruz and he's Tripp.
I'm Tripp and he's Cruz.
Meet defensive end Tripp Van Fossen, the hoister, and kicker Cruz McKee, the hoistee. Friends and teammates on the West Jones High School football team in Laurel, Mississippi. How did that picture come about?
Well, we were trying to think of a celebration. We decided on Simba. You can see in Lion King where the animal owns up the little lion.
Little Lion. It's a good description for Cruz. Tripp, at 6'3", looks like a high school football player. But Cruz He's only 5'3".
What have people said when they see you on the field?
They think it's crazy, and they just think it's an act, or I'm not even a real player.
Do they think you're somebody's baby brother who just got dressed up in the uniform?
I've heard of that one before.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Does it hurt to hear those things?
Maybe a little bit, but I just don't pay much attention to it.
Cruz carries his small frame with the determination and the confidence of, well, a lion. Qualities that his mom says come pretty naturally.
I think it's born in him. He has always been determined and, had a drive about him, and people describe him as having grit. And I really think that that's the grit that drives him.
But mom and dad are still right at the edge of their seats every time Cruz gets up to kick. He made the varsity football team as a sophomore, but he wasn't always sure that he belonged there.
Because I was too scared, I thought I was too small. I was going to wait till next year.
Coach Corey Reynolds didn't think so.
Good job, Cruz control!
He'd seen Cruz, then a freshman, with his dad practice kicking when they thought no one else was watching.
I asked him, hey, what grade are you in? And when he said he's in the 9th, just a smaller kid. And I was like, oh, wow. I said, why don't you come out and play football? And he said, I'm too small. I said, says who?
Now, folks, this is not just any high school football team. These are the West Jones Mustangs, one of the recent Mississippi State high school football champions. They take high school football very seriously around here. There are no charity cases on the squad.
Not every coach of the reigning state champion team is just going to go around giving chances.
Well, that's what's one great thing about this country. It's about chances. You have opportunities to do something. Nothing's going to be given to you for free. You got to go and earn it.
Attaboy. I told him I'll kick next year. He was like, all right.
And that's exactly what he did. He went out and made the team as the backup kicker.
I knew that it was going to happen. He's a very hard worker. He's never really missed any practice and just perseveres.
And wouldn't you know it, an injury to the starting kicker earlier in the season gave this small sophomore the chance to show what he could do.
Are you intimidated being on a football field?
First game I was, but after that, if I get tackled, I get tackled, but it'll be all right. As long as I kick it.
Protect him at all costs.
Yes, sir.
You can't let the kicker get hurt.
Chip shot.
His first game, we'll say the nerves got to him a bit. He missed the first kick.
And this is missed off to the left.
I can't let that affect me. Got to look on to the next one.
You miss it, it's like keep your head down and kick it. You're going to have to kick another one here soon, so don't worry about it.
Cruz took those words to heart.
Put it up, and it is good.
He went on to nail 23 of the next 24 kicks during the regular season, and then 2 more in the Mustangs' lone playoff game. What it did was prove, not only to the people watching,
Yes, hey, good job, Cruz control, good job.
but more importantly to him, that this little lion belonged.
I just hope that people see that there's no size too small. Just showing that, God has done all this for me, that He just gave me everything that I've got.
Really nice story. Well, the Super Bowl is over and fans continue to celebrate. We'll tell you about the cleanup from those fans afterwards. Stay with us. All right, welcome back, everyone. Ed Sheeran took to a busy street in India this weekend for a surprise live performance, but soon officials pulled the plug, saying he didn't have permission to street perform. The British singer was between shows when that happened. Midway through Sheeran's rendition of Shape of You, a policeman yanked out the guitar and microphone cables Images published on social media showed the interaction. Local police said they had previously denied Sharon permission in the area, and a citizen called a helpline once he started playing. But shortly after the Sunday incident, Sharon said on Instagram the street gig was planned and he had been given the all clear. Well, Kendrick Lamar's halftime show was full of surprise guests, one of which appeared to be a protester. Toward the end of the show, someone unveiled a flag which featured the Sudanese flag on top of the Palestine flag with the words Sudan and Gaza written on it. The demonstrator was tackled by security. The NFL confirmed the protester was a performer, but said the dancer hid the flag on his body, and no one involved in the production was aware of his plan. They went on to commend security for acting swiftly. Well, the Super Bowl may have gotten played in New Orleans, but it was left a mess on the streets of Philadelphia. Cleanup crews were out Monday cleaning up debris after the Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs to become Super Bowl champs. Several light poles were torn down during those celebrations when thousands of fans flocked to Broad Street, and after a fire reportedly broke out near 12th and Market Streets. Well, he's back, baby. That was the message shown at Little John Coliseum in Clemson, South Carolina, ahead of famed ESPN analyst Dick Vitale's return to broadcasting. Vitale is one of the most recognizable voices in U.S. sports announcing, but 2 years ago, he stepped away as he battled lymphoma, vocal cord, and lymph node cancer. And on Saturday, he made his triumphant return to college basketball at the game between Duke and Clemson, where he got a hero's montage of his greatest moments and a standing ovation from the crowd ahead of tip-off. An emotional Vitale addressed his return saying, quote, "This is like my Super Bowl, to be able to sit here courtside and do a game. It beats the hell out of chemotherapy and radiation," end quote. We'll be right back after this. Thank you so much for joining us on Mid Morning, everyone. Have a great day.